Hey guys, I'm here to review comics. You can tell which ones from the title. Again, if you're still not used to this new format, instead of reviewing all the comics in one week in one video, I'm going to be doing two per video, um, and be uploading multiple videos a week. So uh, the other videos should be up by now if you're interested in them. Um, and if not, you're obviously interested, or I hope you're interested in the ones that I'll be reviewing in this video, which are Brainiac #1 and Zod #1, or Action Comics 23.2 and Superman 23.2. So let us start with Zod, which I can't tell what they are from the back, and I'm terrible at this whole mirror thing. So we are starting with Zod #1, which gives us more of Zod's new backstory in the new 52. And yeah, this is basically all backstory. Doesn't really cross over with the rest of Villains Month at all. So just a introduction to Zod. So unlike the Zod we know, who is basically just the general, planned a coup of Krypton right before it was destroyed, essentially. This one we find out more about his childhood and how Zod has always loved monsters, and how, as a child, he grew up in a family of scientists, basically, who were trying to develop bioweapons for Krypton in their war against the what are they called? The Char. What's a car? CHAR. Whatever. And so we see a brief glimpse of his childhood life before everything goes to shit, an experiment goes awry, and the bioweapons kind of terraform this part of Krypton, leaving Zod for dead, basically, as he realizes his parents can't protect him. A year later, Jor-El and Zor-El trying to reclaim that part of the planet and the lab, where they come across an older Zod who has survived by basically just turning into a creature of the jungle himself and fighting to survive. Then, 15 years after he is refound, we see him as the general in this battle against the Char, which we find out he caused without precedent, without a good reason. What's it called? Yeah. Anyway, he has basically just started a new war with the Char, between the Char and Krypton, because he wanted to fight, because he was tired of how bourgeois Krypton had become and how they don't care about fighting or defending their planet anymore. So he starts this war with the Char in his mind to force Krypton back into action and make Krypton the best it can be. And eventually, this is found out. He gets arrested by the council, and then everything kind of goes back to the way we are used to, with Zod being found guilty of war crimes and being sent to the Phantom Zone, before years later discovering that Superman exists, and he wants to now test Superman as a Kryptonian. So overall, pretty mad book. I like how they kind of went more into Zod's backstory, gave us stuff that we didn't quite know about before, and that he's always been kind of crazy. That aside from just being trying to hold a coup and overthrowing Krypton, he is just a warmonger. He is hungry for battle. He believes that battle makes you stronger, that it is necessary to survive. So a bit more into his character there. But it didn't really feel like anything too new or too groundbreaking. It doesn't really feel like anything we quite needed about the character. So it's nice to have, but it's not necessary. And I don't know. Superman doesn't really have that many big villains. They're already stretching it pretty thin in the whole Villains Month thing by doing, I think, a Parasite comic. Um, Zod is one of the bigger ones because he has been in the movies and whatever. Um, but yeah, I mean, if you're not really into Zod that much as a character, if you're not, like, there's no reason to pick it up if you don't already have one. It's just kind of meh, it's just kind of there, you know. Moving on to Brainiac #1. Oh, another thing I noticed just right now. Okay, so in Brainiac #1, I'm sorry, in Zod #1, we have Superman in this little green thing in the background, kind of being held captive, right? And then in Brainiac #1, he's in the same exact thing, except Brainiac's on the cover now. It's like, what? Oh, whatever. Okay, just weird. Um, and so here we get it's a Brainiac issue. It doesn't really cross over Villains Month at all. It's just a kind of Brainiac Day in the Spotlight sort of thing, where we see Brainiac taking over another planet, and he kidnaps the foremost scientist of this other planet, who then demands to know why Brainiac is doing all of this, which gives us a reason to explore Brainiac's history. Starting off as a scientist on a planet called Yod Kolu, Brainiac works towards preventing the destruction of his planet from the Multitude, which we were introduced to in a previous Superman comic. I forget if it was Superman or Action Comics, but the Multitude is Mr. Mixelplex, or whatever his Mezzy Plezzy, I don't know, whatever, Midi Spitlick, but the Multitude was him just causing chaos in this universe, and because he's a fifth dimensional being, he is basically an unstoppable force. And he has been going around destroying planets randomly, or seemingly randomly, but Brainiac figures out that his planet, Yod Kolo, is the next to be destroyed. So he is trying to find a way to prevent his planet's destruction by them. He's performing experiments on his son in order to try and make their species more powerful in order to stand up to this new threat. He is found guilty of mad science, I guess. He is exiled to a spaceship, which he then hacks and turns into the Brainiac chip. And out of kind of a last-ditch effort, because he realizes he can't stop the Multitude from destroying his planet, he saves one city of his planet into a bottle, which then becomes kind of his modus operandi. And he tries to preserve his planet in this fashion before deciding to preserve every planet in this fashion by infiltrating it, becoming a fundamental part of their network, and then summoning him to collect a city in a bottle. Of course, this is all narrated by Brainiac, and you get this very kind of sympathetic view of his mission, before, at the end, being called out by this scientist, saying, that's a whole bunch of bullshit, you're just doing this because you're a crazy person. And then it is kind of left up to us to decide whether or not Brainiac really is kind of going on this path in order to save people from a threat he cannot stop as of yet, or just because he likes to collect things. And then, of course, this leads to someone on Earth deciphering an SOS by this other scientist, and we get the message that Brainiac is coming back to Earth, and blah, blah, blah stuff happening. So this is one of the more interesting books, I think, that came out this week, one of the more interesting villains books, because we do get, a lot like a lot of the others, we get a villain's history as told by them, but it gives us kind of a new view of the Brainiac thing as, and I don't know, Brainiac has never really been, I've never really associated him with like this Knight Templar sort of thing, with like he has this holy mission that he has to do, and the ends justify the means. I don't know how much that's really been explored, um, but it's kind of done here. But we also get that him being called out and that he is the one telling the story, so he could be embellishing. He's trying to make himself more sympathetic. And yeah, it's just a pretty good Brainiac history. I don't know how much they changed it because there's never really that much into the character beforehand. But it seems to really fit with what I do know of the character. That he was a scientist who bonded with machines somehow, that collects planets and all that. So it fits like in line with everything I knew. It's not a dramatic reinvention, but anything they did add, I think, really does fit really well. So yeah, that's what I thought about this one. So hope you enjoyed this video. If you're interested in any other comics that came out this week, please watch the videos where I review them if you're interested. If you liked this one, please press that like button or whatever it is now. Subscribe if you feel like it, want more of this. Any comments or questions or anything at all, feel free to comment or message me. I hope you enjoyed watching, and I'll be back next week.